who have paid the ultimate sacrifice while selflessly serving their community in Muriwai, Aotearoa, New Zealand. We bring their memory and presence and place them alongside each and every person that we as two nations collectively remember today. Ka mutu ki a koutou ngā kirimate, ngā whānau pani, kua kawea nei te pare kawa, te tohu aitua, tēnei rā te mihi ki a koutou. Finally, to you all who are metaphorically adorned with the sacred leaves of mourning, the kawa, I acknowledge you and alongside Serena, extend a special welcome to you all and a thank you for allowing us to share this special time commemorating your loved ones. I close with a final farewell to those who have called us here today. Koutou te unga mate, haere koutou, haere ki tu o te arai. We bid you farewell beyond the veil of sight. Waiho mā mātou te hunga, kua mahue iho nei, leaving us, the living behind, to never forget you in aroha, love, whakapono, belief, quiet peacefulness, langi Mārie. Nō reira, tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou katoa.
Thank you, Piki. And good morning to all joining us from New Zealand via our live stream this morning. The Woden Valley Youth Choir will now lead the national anthems of New Zealand and Australia, ending in Advanced Australia Fair in the Ngunnawal language. Please stand. Thank you, and please be seated. Welcome to the National Memorial Service for Fire and Emergency Services Personnel. My name is Barry Gray, Director, Operations Support with AFAC, and I'll be your host for today's service. I'd like to extend a warm welcome to Their Excellencies, the Governor-General of the Commonwealth of Australia, General the Honourable David Hurley and Mrs Linda Hurley, Her Excellency the Honourable Dame Annette King, High Commissioner of New Zealand, Deputy Chief of Mission, Embassy of the United States of America, Michael Goldman, and Senator the Honourable Murray Watt, Minister for Emergency Management, and Senator the Honourable Tony Sheldon, Special Envoy for Disaster Recovery. Distinguished guests, families, senior leaders of fire and emergency services from Australia and New Zealand, agency members and volunteers, welcome one and all. AFAC CEO Rob Webb will now provide an introduction to today's service.
Good morning, everybody. I want to start by thanking the Ngunnawal people for hosting us on the beautiful lands that make up Canberra and the wider region. A particular thank you to Serena Williams for welcoming us onto your lands today. AFAC acknowledges the Ngunnawal people as the traditional custodians of the land we are meeting on and recognise any other people or families with connections to the lands of the ACT and region. We wish to acknowledge and respect their continuing culture and the contribution they make to the life of this city and its region. We also would like to acknowledge and welcome other Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people who may be attending today's event, and that acknowledgement is extended to the Maori people of New Zealand. Your Excellencies, the General the Honourable David Hurley and Mrs Linda Hurley, thank you for your ongoing support for emergency services and this event in particular. The medals you travel around to present mean so much to our community-based sector. Your Excellency, Honourable Dame Annette King, New Zealand High Commissioner, we acknowledge and treasure our deep links with New Zealand and shared your grief when we heard the tragic loss of life earlier this year. Senator the Honourable Murray Watt, Minister for Emergency Management, Senator the Honourable Tony Sheldon, Special Envoy for Disaster Recovery. Families and friends of those who have died that we recognise today. Distinguished guests, and in particular the leaders from fire and emergency services across Australia and New Zealand. AFAC is honoured to be hosting the 9th annual National Memorial Service for fire and emergency services personnel who have died in the line of duty. Today we gather to acknowledge their sacrifice. We hope to provide some level of support for the families and friends who continue to grieve. We walk with you, not fully understanding, but seeking to provide any support we can. Our fire and emergency services personnel selflessly put themselves in harm's way every day of the year, and sadly some pay the ultimate price. We received the terrible reminder just last week when we heard of the loss of first-class firefighter Isabella Nash. Her death sent a shockwave through our close-knit sector. The same shockwaves are felt whenever a member of this small community is lost as a result of the work they do. AFAC extends our deepest sympathies to Isabella families and the whole Queensland Fire and Emergency Services community. Shortly, the Governor-General will present an AFAC medallion to family members inscribed with their loved ones' names. Their names will also be inscribed on the memorial wall alongside now over 620 other names. Please reflect on those names at the conclusion of the event today. To the families gathered today, we hope that this in some way provides acknowledgement of the place your loved ones hold in our heart. We acknowledge your loss, we share in some part your pain, and we sincerely offer you an ongoing commitment to maintain your loved one's legacy for decades to come. I want to thank you all for joining us here today.
Thank you, Rob. It is my pleasure to welcome His Excellency, the Governor-General of the Commonwealth of Australia, General the Honourable David Hurley, to provide the official address.
Good morning, and thank you again for inviting Linda and I to participate in an important ceremony in the life of the fire and rescue community here in Australia, and indeed with our brothers and sisters from New Zealand. Could I also begin by acknowledging the Ngunnawal people. If you're Canberra, you'll know how beautiful part of the world it is here. The Namadgi down south, the Brindabella out to the west there, the Murrumbidgee, the Molonglo. We're blessed with so many natural features which the Ngunnawal people have looked after for us for generation after generation. We thank them for that, acknowledge their elders, but particularly at the moment though, being mindful of our responsibility to the young Indigenous Australians whose future is critical to our national future. Could I acknowledge Her Excellency the Honourable Dame Annette King, High Commissioner for New Zealand, Mr Michael Goldman, Deputy Chief of Mission, Embassy of the United States of America, Senator the Honourable Murray Watt, Minister for Emergency Management, the Senator the Honourable Tony Sheldon, Commissioner Carleen York, Commissioner of New South Wales SES, and the President of AFAC, Ms Carrie Gregory, Chief Executive of the Fire Emergency New Zealand. Importantly, to the Fire Emergency Services personnel from Australia and New Zealand who are with us today, your families, your friends and colleagues who we are honouring today. It's a privilege again for Linda and I, as I say, to be here for this memorial service that honours the courage and the sacrifice of fire and emergency services personnel. Our thoughts today are with the families, friends and colleagues of those who have died in the line of duty or passed away from health conditions related to their service, particularly those who we have lost over the last year. We convey our sympathies and hope you gain support from being with members of the Fire and Emergency Services family this morning. On this wall behind me, courage and sacrifice are amongst the 26 words that are engraved on that wall. Words that speak to the roles and the qualities of the 11 personnel or people being recognised today. But there are two other words that stood out for me. Why? Because they speak to the reason we hold our fire and emergency people in such high esteem. Community and hope. Community reminds us of why fire and emergency services personnel choose to do what they do. It's service before self, it's in their DNA. They don't do it for recognition, and they do it because selfless service is what makes them tick and what makes them get up each morning. Now, Linda and I know that, as Rob has mentioned, we go to many services over the last year or so presenting national emergency medals, mainly in relation to the bushfires of 2019-2020. I know that every person who walks up to that, receive the medal from me, will say to me, I don't do it for this. I do it for my community. And that humility is just beautiful in our people. But we've got to recognise your contribution. Humility is lovely, but we want to say thank you. The other word, as I said, is hope. And that's the most wonderful gift that you can give to someone in a time of trouble. I know that Linda continuously says to families and emergency service personnel when we're talking to them, can you imagine the relief in my life or someone's life when they're in serious danger, flood or fire, and you turn up in your vehicle, in your coloured uniform, how that brings hope into my life, into my family's life. That's what you provide. Another two words we could probably run together up there, humility and hope. That's this community. And that's what we're recognising, that service today. To the families particularly, I can't overstate the importance of your loved ones' contribution to making our communities safer and stronger. In our role, as I said with Linda, we have the great privilege of engaging with thousands of fire and emergency services personnel. I enjoy their company, about hearing about their work, the ups, the downs, the challenges, what's wrong with the kit, all those sorts of things you normally expect in those conversations. But they are humble people with enormously big hearts for their community. That service comes at a price though, because the work can be dangerous and there's always risk. This morning at this service, we come together to offer comfort to the families of the 11 members being commemorated today. They're the families from Fire and Rescue New South Wales, Station Officer Morgan Cook. From New South Wales Rural Fire Service, Chief and Superintendent Bruce Holtz, Superintendent Paul Norton, Captain Tony Hardy, Deputy Captain Randall MacArthur, and Superintendent Michael Holland. From New South Wales National Parks and Wildlife Service, Park Air Crew member Richard Oswald. Parks and Wildlife Service at the Department of Biodiversity, Conservation and Attractions in Western Australia, firefighter Wendy Barefoot. From the Tasmanian Fire Service, Senior Firefighter David Young. From Fire and Emergency New Zealand, firefighter Craig Stevens and Station Officer David Van Zwandenberg. To all those families, we mourn with you today. Today is a difficult day, indeed a bittersweet day. To be acknowledged, to be thanked, but in the middle of your loss. Please know that you are surrounded by people who care. People are with you today and will walk with you in the future. 22 names have been engraved onto the memorial wall since this corresponding service last year. They include the 11 we're commemorating today, as well as historical additions dating back to 1997. All 624 names, though, are more than names on a wall, and each of you sitting in those chairs today know that. They are loved family members, friends and colleagues. They are outstanding members of our community, and they were people whose collective contributions made our community stronger and gave us hope. In honouring them today, we offer comfort to the families who supported them, and we all press on, keeping their spirit alive and never forgetting. May they rest in peace.
Thank you, Your Excellency. Now please welcome Carrie Gregory, Chief Executive, Fire and Emergency New Zealand, to provide today's reflection.
Kia hora te marino, kia whakapapapau namu te moana. Hei huarahi mā tātou i te rangi nei. Aroha atu, aroha mai, tātou ia tātou katoa. Hui e, tāi ki e. May peace be widespread. May the sea be like greenstone, a pathway for all of us today. Let us show respect for each other, for one another, bind us all together. I firstly want to acknowledge the Ngunnawal people as the first inhabitants and traditional owners of this land that we meet on today, and recognise their continued connection to the land, the water and the community. I honour their elders, past, present and emerging, and extend that recognition to the Aboriginal, Torres Strait Islanders and Māori people who are either joining us today or watching online. I'd also to acknowledge our whānau, our families, of our fallen colleagues here today, and all those who cannot be here today with us, alongside the dignitaries in attendance and those who have made this day possible. It's truly an honour and a privilege to be here today, being able to stand on behalf of Fire and Emergency New Zealand and firefighters to share some words with you all. I thought I'd start by sharing a whakatauki, which is a proverb or words handed down from our elders. And this would be heard and at home on places like the marae or through a tangi, which is a funeral. And the whakatauki goes, te whatiwha te pō, te whatiwha te ao. And it means gloom and sorrow prevail day and night. This whakatauki reflects on the sorrow, the loss, the grief, the pain that one feels every day through the loss of a loved one. Whether the person you're honouring has passed recently or with the passages of time have marched on, there will always be grief and sorrow, which I encourage you to nurture. Your grief shows how much aroha or love that you have for that person and what an important part their life has played for you. There will have been milestone moments: marriage, birth, new jobs, first words, first days at school, graduation, all of those hallmark moments that our lives are woven around. But more importantly, they were there for all those little moments that no one else sees. Trips to the after-hours doctors, standing sidelines in the rain for kids' sport, job interviews preparation, and breakfast in bed on Sundays, just because. All these moments and more just keep going on. And underneath all those emotions you feel, there will be a hint, sometimes a wave of real grief. And maybe the question, what would they be saying or doing right now if they were still here? Never try to stop that emotion. It is another way you can honour your time with them and their memory. This Memorial Day today is another way to connect with them, because in the milestones of their life, joining the emergency services would have been up there, I'm sure, and honouring them on this day is befitting of that commitment. There's a reason that children like to dress up and play emergency services. They're everyday heroes, people who do phenomenal work, often in stressful and dangerous situations. They're often the first ones people see in an emergency, comforting and helping others at some of the worst times of their lives. It's days like today that remind us they are also ordinary individuals, as vulnerable as we are, people who just want to help others in their time of need, and sometimes there are tragic outcomes to that. Sadly, I stand here today as we honour two of our emergency volunteers, Dave Van Swanenberg and Craig Stevens, who lost their lives in the line of duty earlier this year in New Zealand. I hadn't had a chance to meet Dave or Craig, but in the days following their passing, I heard so many fantastic stories about them, met some of those who were close to them, and read about their hobbies and passions. They had such busy, fulfilling and amazing lives, yet were dedicated to helping others so much that they chose to share their time with us. I truly wish I could have thanked them for becoming part of Fire and Emergency New Zealand whānau. Thank you, Dave and Craig. Those of you who worked in emergency services will understand that whānau, or the family I'm talking about, because becoming an emergency service worker is more than just putting on some PPE. As you train, go out to call out with your brigade, you create a really unique bond that can't easily be explained, building trust and connection that cannot be replicated. You become like a family, dysfunctional at times, but still there when needed. That unique bond extends to our own families. A family sacrifices time with their loved ones and manages their lives around the uncertainty that this calling brings, but it also brings all the warmth and support that family bring. This unique bond never goes away, no matter the passage of time that has passed. Know that our fallen colleagues will always be part of our whānau, bound to us forever, never far from our thoughts, and honoured as heroes for the sacrifices they made. And you, their loved ones, will always be with us too. We are not able to change what has happened, but we can thank you for supporting them in their time with us, and continue where we can to support you as you keep going without them around. Please see this day as another moment in your life with them, a way to grieve their loss and remember them as we formally thank them for their time with us. We are truly indebted to them for their service to Australia and New Zealand, and we're indebted to you for being part of that story. Ngā mihi kia koutou, I give my greetings to you all.
Thank you, Carrie. Please welcome Natalie McDonald, CEO, Country Fire Authority Victoria, to speak on behalf of the AFAC National Council.
Thank you. I'd like to begin by acknowledging the Ngunnawal people, the traditional custodians of the land on which we meet today, and recognise their continuing connection to land, water and community. And I honour their elders past and present and extend that respect to Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples joining us here in Canberra and online. And I also wish to acknowledge and pay respect to Maori as tangata whenua and Treaty of Waitangi partners of Aotearoa, New Zealand. Good morning. And it's today a great day, a difficult day, where we come together to honour the courage and sacrifice of those who've died in the line of duty. We remember our colleagues, family members and friends who made the ultimate sacrifice and thank them for keeping our communities safe. We are here today to commemorate 11 brave men and women who dedicated their lives to protecting their communities, and we stand in solidarity with the family and friends that they leave behind. We honour their commitment, their bravery, and above all, their unwavering selflessness. We know that their sacrifice has made our world a safer place, and we are forever grateful for their service. And today is a reminder again that the work of fire and emergency services is not an easy task. It requires dedication, bravery and selflessness. And when our fire and emergency services staff and volunteers receive a call for help, they risk themselves to keep us safe, be it the immediate risks of an emergency incident or the long-term toll of dangerous environments. No matter what situations they are faced with, fire and emergency services personnel in Australia and New Zealand have one thing in common: an unwavering commitment to the safety of those around them. As we stand here today, we're reminded of the countless lives that have been saved, the property that's been protected, and the countless acts of kindness that have been shown by those who have made the ultimate sacrifice. These are the individuals who have demonstrated the true meaning of service and have given us a sense of security and comfort in times of crisis. Today, we add an additional 22 names to the memorial wall, a permanent reminder of service and sacrifice, now engraved into the history of fire and emergency services in Australia and New Zealand. We remember those who have gone before us, and we honour them by continuing their legacy of service and commitment. To our families here today, we stand with you in remembering your loved ones. Beyond their service to our sector, they were mothers and fathers, sons and daughters, brothers and sisters, friends. They were individuals who dedicated their lives to serving others, and in doing so they have left an enduring mark on our world. As we look around today, we will see that the fire and emergency services communities stand shoulder to shoulder with you through your grief. In their absence, your loved one's service will be a source of inspiration and pride for all of us. As we pause to pay our respects to the extraordinary group who are being honoured and remembered today, let us renew our commitment to building a safer and more compassionate world. Let us be inspired by their example and strive to make a positive difference in the lives of others, just as they did.
Thank you, Natalie. I now invite Their Excellencies, the Governor-General and Mrs Hurley, to join the AFAC President and Commissioner of the New South Wales State Emergency Service, Carrie York, to present the AFAC Memorial Medals to families of those who have lost their lives in the line of duty. As well as the family representatives who will be receiving the medallions, we acknowledge the extended family members, friends and colleagues who are here today on this significant occasion, including those joining us via the live stream. We also recognise the staff from each agency who have given support to the bereaved families. To receive the medallion recognising Station Officer Morgan Cook from the Fire and Rescue New South Wales is Jane Frances Cook. Station Officer Cook died on the 8th of March 2022 as a result of workplace cancer. To receive the medallion recognising Chief Superintendent retired Bruce Holes from the New South Wales Rural Fire Service is Innes Holes. Chief Superintendent Holes died on the 30th of November 2022 as a result of workplace cancer. To receive the medallion recognising Superintendent Paul Norton from the New South Wales Rural Fire Service is Tracy Norton. Superintendent Norton died on the 25th of November 2021 as a result of workplace cancer. To receive the medallion recognising Captain Tony Hardy from New South Wales Rural Fire Service is Greg Hardy and Brian Hardy. Captain Hardy died on the 1st of February 2023 as a result of workplace cancer. To receive the medallion recognising Deputy Captain Randall MacArthur from New South Wales Rural Fire Service is Astra Temple. Deputy Captain MacArthur died on the 18th of September 2022 as a result of workplace cancer. To receive the medallion recognising Superintendent Michael Holland from the New South Wales Rural Fire Service is Sarah Jane Holland and Katrina McDonald. Superintendent Holland died on the 19th of December 2022 as a result of workplace cancer. To receive the medallion recognising Park Air Crew person Richard Oswald from the New South Wales National Parks and Wildlife Service is Angela Holly. Crew person Oswald died on the 22nd of June 2022 as a result of workplace cancer. To receive the medallion recognising firefighter Wendy Barefoot from the Parks and Wildlife Service at the Department of Biodiversity, Conservation and Attractions is Joshua Barefoot and Stephen Barefoot. Firefighter Barefoot died on the 1st of November 2012 as a result of burns received responding to a bushfire in Black Cat Creek. To receive the medallion recognising Senior Firefighter David Young from the Tasmanian Fire Service is Bronwyn Haskell and Helen Young. Senior Firefighter Young died on the 26th of June 2017 as a result of workplace cancer. To receive the medallion recognising Firefighter Craig Stevens from Fire and Emergency New Zealand is Lucy Stevens. Firefighter Stevens died on the 16th of February 2023 from injuries sustained in a landslide while responding to a call for assistance during Tropical Cyclone Gabrielle. To receive the medallion recognising Station Officer David Van Zwanenberg from Fire and Emergency New Zealand is Amy Van Zonnenberg. Station Officer Van Zwanenberg died on the 14th of February 2023 in a landslide while responding to the call for assistance during Tropical Cyclone Gabrielle. The wreath laying ceremony will now commence. I ask the Excellencies, the Governor-General and Mrs Hurley, together with the Commissioner York, to lay a wreath to commemorate those that have lost their lives in the line of duty. I now invite the following to lay wreaths. Senator the Honourable Murray Watt, Senator the Honourable Tony Sheldon, and AFAC CEO Rob Webb. Dame Annette King and Deputy Chief of Mission Michael Goldman to acknowledge our international partnerships. Gordon Hall, Scott Campbell and Ron Brown representing our volunteer associations. I now invite the 11 families who received a medallion today to come forward and lay a wreath. There will be an opportunity for others to pay their respects and leave a sprig of rosemary on the memorial wall at the conclusion of the service. Please all stand while we observe a minute's silence to reflect and remember those who have lost their lives protecting our community. Please be seated. I now invite Carrie Gregory back to share some closing remarks.
Thank you again. The purpose of this memorial wall and ceremony is to honour those who have fallen in the line of duty and provide you, their families, with another place of solace to reflect on their life with you and the service they gave us all. This memorial is one way we can acknowledge the courage, the devotion, the service that they, and by extension you, have given to our emergency services. It is a rare trait that someone runs towards danger, and even rarer still that a person does this to help others. As we close today's ceremony, no matter your connection to our fallen heroes, I encourage you to honour them in everything you do. For those of us in emergency services, the legacy of our colleagues lives on in the work that we do, and they will never be forgotten. Speak of them with pride and make sure their bravery is shared for years to come. And to their family and friends, thank you. Your lives have been ever changed by the tragedies that have unfolded. No words seem powerful enough to support you in your grief. Just know you're in our thoughts always. Nā koutou e tangi nā tātou katoa. When you cry, your tears are shed by us all. I finished today's memorial with a short karakia. Whakairia te tapu, kia wā te ai te ara, kia tūruki whakataha ai, kia tūruki whakataha ai. Whanno, whanno, tū mai te toki, homi e, hui e, tae ki e. The sacredness of this event is now lifted, allowing us all to return to our everyday lives while we continue to remember those whom we have gathered to commemorate. We are united as one in our thoughts. Ki ngā whānau, kia kaha, kia maia, kia manawa nui. To the families, be strong, be brave, and be generous of heart. Tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou katoa. Thank you to you all.
Thank you, Carrie. That now concludes our service today. On behalf of AFAC, thank you for your attendance and to those who have contributed to this significant occasion. For those here in Canberra, you're welcome to come forward and place your rosemary in the ribbons on the memorial wall as a sign of remembrance. Light refreshments are also available on the lawns. Thank you and good morning.